Good afternoon, everyone. We are here for Military Affairs session with the topic of African agencies, SAHPRA and CAPA, acceptance of observational studies in traditional use registrations. In the previous session, we discussed about MHRA guidelines in post-Brexit herbal approvals, regulatory framework for pre-Brexit with case studies. In today's session, Rutuja Shinde ma'am will deliver the keynotes on African agencies, SAFRA and CAPA, acceptance of observational studies in traditional use registration. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to this session on African agencies' acceptance of observational studies in traditional use registration. Today, we will explore how agencies such as SAHPRA, that is South African Health Product Regulatory Authority, and CAPA are reshaping regulatory science to include a real world observational data in evaluating traditional medicines. Over the next hour, I will walk you through the historical context, current frameworks, study design expectations, and future directions that are shaping how Africa balances traditional knowledge with modern evidence. So let's begin with the big picture. So in South Africa, SAHPRA is the main authority governing medicines and health products, while CAPA focuses on cosmetics, toiletries, and related goods. What makes this landscape unique is the recognition that traditional and indigenous systems carry invaluable experiential data. Sabra's evolution has been about embracing that wisdom without compromising safety or quality. So, the key regulatory bodies, the South African Health Product Regulatory Authority and the Cosmetic Toiletries and Fragrances Association of South Africa, represents the primary regulatory frameworks. So, these agencies have evolved their approaches to accommodate indigenous knowledge systems whilst maintaining rigorous safety and efficacy standards. So, the registration pathway, traditional use registration offers an alternative pathway for herbal medicine products with a long standing user histories. So, this route recognizes that extensive historical use can substitute for conventional clinical trial data provided specific conditions are met regarding documentation, safety, and traditional indications. Then, traditional use regulatory definition. So, SAFRA defines a traditional use product through three core lenses that are temporal requirements, safety profile, and indication scope. So first is temporal requirements, time frame, at least 30 years of documented use with 15 years in Africa. Safety profile, evidence of safe use under specified conditions. Scope of indication for self-limiting minor ailments suitable for self-care. So these pillars safeguard public health while giving room for ancestral knowledge to be validated within a scientific system. Then the evidence hierarchy challenge. So historically, regulatory science placed randomized control trials or RCTs as the top of evidence pyramid. Yet for products rooted in community practice, that model often isn't feasible or ethical. Regulators are now re-evaluating this hierarchy, acknowledging that observational studies, which capture real-world uses, can complement or even substitute for formal trials in certain context. Then, what are observational studies? So, observational studies watch what happens in the real world without interfering. Researchers don't assign treatments, they simply observe people using the product naturally and record outcomes. For traditional medicines, this approach reflects a genuine community practice, making it both relevant and respectful. Key characteristics or key trials include no randomization, then natural use in real settings, long term safety data, and diverse population. So, these aspects make observational research ideal for understanding how traditional products perform outside laboratory. Types of observational studies. So we recognize four classic designs: cohort studies, case control studies, cross sectional studies, and case series and reports. So cohort study follow participants prospectively to detect outcomes. Then case control study look backward from an event to possible causes. Cross sectional studies capture a snapshot in time, and case series and reports detailed observations on individuals. So, together, they provide a spectrum of evidence from hypothesis generation to risk identification. Then SAHPRA's regulatory framework. So SAHPRA was established under the Medicines and Related Substances Act of 1965 and modernized in 2018 to replace the old MCC. So MCC is Medicines Control Council. So its remit includes complementary herbal and traditional medicines. The guiding principle is risk-based regulation, allowing flexibility while protecting public health. Then traditional use registration, SAHPRA requirements. SAHPRA traditional use documentation. So applicants must supply three major dossiers, that is historical use evidence, then bibliographic safety data and quality documentation. So historical use evidence, literature, pharmacopoeia, healer records, then safety data, bibliographic or observational documentation. So this must cover the specified dosage and route of administration, and quality data, manufacturing and analytical details. So pharmaceutical quality data includes specification, manufacturing process, stability studies, and analytical methods to ensure a consistent product quality. So observational studies can reinforce both the safety and the authenticity of these claims. So, where observational studies fit SAHPRA perspective. So, SAHPRA recognizes observational evidence as a valuable supporting data. So, it can document safety, confirm dosage patterns, and reveal adverse events in day-to-day use. However, such studies don't normally establish efficacy for new indications. They strengthen what tradition already teaches us. So SAHPRA acknowledged that well-designed observational studies can provide valuable supplementary evidence for traditional use registration. So these studies are particularly useful when they address safety concerns to provide contemporary documentation of traditional use patterns. Then SAHPRA evaluation criteria for observational studies. The first is study design quality, transparency and reporting, bias assessment, and ethical compliance. So study design, sound methodology and clear objective. Then transparency via reporting. So comprehensive reporting following recognized standards such as TROP guidelines for observational research. Then bias assessment, acknowledgement, and mitigation of potential sources of bias, including selection bias, information bias, and confounding. And ethical compliance, evidence of ethics committee approval, and adherence to good clinical practice principle. So meeting this ensures your evidence moves from anecdote to regulatory standard. Then this is case study successful SAHPRA submission. So recent South African herbal product submission illustrates this perfectly. The dossier combined 50 years of ethnobotanical data with a 12 months cohort study involving 450 participants, healer records, and post marketing data from a neighboring country. SAPRA approved it, nothing that the observational evidence significantly strengthened the safety section. So, this case set a precedent for others. Then CAPA and regulatory harmonization, regional harmonization efforts. So understanding CAPA's rule. So now, where does CAPA fit in? CAPA oversees cosmetics and personal care products. So sometimes traditional preparation blurs the line. Say a herbal cream with both cosmetic and medicinal claims. Collaboration between CAPA and SEPRA helps clarify which framework applies, avoiding duplication or regulatory conflict. So, regulatory intersection products containing traditional ingredient may fall under both CAPA and SEPRA oversight depending on their intended use and claims. Then African Medicines Agency initiative. So African Medicines Agency is a game changer, adopted in 2019 and now moving toward full operation. AMA aims to AMA, that is African Medicine Agency, that aims to harmonize regulatory standards across Africa. So this means a high quality observational study accepted by SAHPRA could soon support registration in multiple African countries, saving both time and cost. Then this is regional regulatory variation. So currently, the maturity of framework varies across the continent. South Africa leads with a detailed guidance. Others are catching up. The AMA harmonization process will bring everyone onto a common platform, improving predictability for applicants and reviewers alike. Then designing robust observational studies. So, how do we design um, uh, studies regulators will actually trust? So, four core principles are there: clear objective, representative population, standardized methods, and appropriate analysis. So, clear objectives precisely define the research questions aligned with regulatory requirements. Then, representative populations matching the target users. Then, standardized methods, collection methods, and appropriate statistical analysis. So it's about combining scientific discipline with practical realism. Then minimizing bias in observational research. So bias is the silent enemy of observational research. First is selection bias, that fixed by clear inclusion criteria and transparent recruitment. Then information bias, use validated tools and training. So the challenge is systematic errors in measurement or classification of variables. Mitigation: employ validated assessment tools, train data collectors consistently, use objective measures when available, and blind assessors to study hypotheses. Then confounding challenge: third, variables influencing both exposure and outcome. Mitigation: collect data on potential confounders, use stratification or multivariable analysis, consider propensity score methods, and acknowledge residual confounding limitation. So the goal is not to eliminate bias, it is to recognize and control it. Then sample size considerations. So sample size matters. Around 450 participants help detect events occurring in 1% of users. To catch rarer events of zero point 0.1 to 1%, you may need 3,000 or more, and a 12 months follow up is usually the minimum for safety monitoring. Always justify sample size with a formal calculation. Regulators do look for that. Then data collection best practice. So high quality data collection builds credibility. So use pre-tested case report forms, and then triangulate information from multiple sources, and perform routine quality checks. Electronic data capture system with audit trials, add a layer of integrity and compliance. So remember, data quality is regulatory currency. It determines how seriously your study is taken. Then ethical considerations in observational research. Even though observational studies don't involve experiential interventions, ethics approval remains absolutely essential. So every participant has the right to know how their information will be used, and regulators want proof that a recognized ethics committee reviewed and approved the protocol before data collection began. SAHPRA specifically requires a prospective approval. Retrospective approval is rarely accepted. So, ethical integrity underpins scientific credibility. Then, reporting standard and STROB guidelines. So, STROB guidelines for observational studies is the strengthening and reporting of observational studies in epidemiology, that is STROB. Initiative provides comprehensive guidance for reporting observational research. Adherence to STROB guidelines significantly enhance the credibility and regulatory acceptability of study reports. So, STROB guidelines strengthening the reports. Reporting of observational study in epidemiology contain 22 checklist items that help authors report a design, conduct, and analysis clearly. So when you include a completed, a STROB checklist in your dossier, reviewers immediately recognize the study's discipline and reproducibility. Then essential elements of study reports. So, title and abstract, introduction, method, result, and discussion. So, title and abstract obviously clearly indicate the study design in the title, provide structured abstract with a background, methods, result, and conclusion. Then, introduction includes state objective, hypothesis, and scientific rationale, establish regulatory context and knowledge gaps. Then in methods, describe design, setting, participants, variables, data sources, bias mitigation, study size justification, and statistical methods. Then in result report, participant flow, characteristic, outcome data, main result and additional analysis include confidence intervals. And in discussion, summarize key results, discuss limitations, interpretation, and generalizability, address regulatory implications. Then statistical reporting requirement. So regulator expect results that are transparent and complete. So that means showing a descriptive statistics, who your participants were, what variables you measured, and how complete your follow-up was. Then provide confidence intervals, explain missing data handling, and disclose all analysis, even negative ones. So canceling non-significant result erodes trust, transparency strengthen it. Then analytical results point estimate with a 95% confidence interval, p-value with a pre-specified significance level, effect measure appropriate to study design, and result of sensitivity analysis. Then documentation of traditional use context. So when using observational evidence, always reconnect finding to traditional practice. So show that your observed dosing, preparation, and indications mirror what has historically been recorded. So this demonstrate continuity, proving the modern data genuinely validate the traditional claim rather than reinventing it. Then specific applications in traditional use registration, safety documentation, the primary role. So the main strength of observational research lies in safety documentation. So first is establishing safety profiles. Observational studies excel at documenting real world safety under conditions of actual use, unlike control trials. They capture safety signals in diverse populations with comorbidities and concomitant medications that reflect genuine use patterns. Then identifying risk factors, case control and cohort studies can identify population subgroups at increased risk of adverse events, informing appropriate warnings and contraindications in product labeling. And post marketing surveillance, ongoing observational data collection after initial registration provides continuous safety monitoring, supporting label updates and regulatory compliance with pharmacovigilance requirements. So, this information not only supports registration but also feeds directly into post marketing pharmacovigilance. Then, types of safety data from observational studies or data collected. Typically, these studies capture adverse events and side effects, drug or herb interactions, long term effects and contraindications, and response in special populations. So each category adds a piece to the overall safety mosaic. Then supporting historical use claims. So, observational data can also validate that traditional use remains current and consistent. When documentation from decades ago lacks detail, new real world studies can bridge the gap, confirming that people still use the product today in the same way. So this modern confirmation strengthen the authenticity of the traditional record. Then usage pattern documentation. So cross-sectional or cohort studies can show typical dosage patterns, average duration of use, and demographic of users. So, such a data guide, accurate labeling, and appropriate warnings. For instance, advising when to seek medical help if symptoms persist beyond the normal course. Then, when observational studies cannot replace clinical trials, so it's important to recognize boundaries. Observational data are powerful, but not universal. Regulators will still demand RCTs for new therapeutic indications. Claims beyond traditionally documented use require interventional efficacy studies. Then, serious conditions, product for serious diseases requiring medical supervision need robust efficacy demonstration. Then, novel formulation, substantially modified product diverging from traditional preparations may require clinical efficacy data and controversial safety concerns. When theoretical risk exit despite traditional use, control studies may be necessary. So, traditional use registration is intentionally limited to self limiting conditions. Then, systematic reviews and meta analysis, the power of synthesized evidence. So, when multiple observational studies exist, synthesizing them through systematic review adds a tremendous value. Meta analysis can pool safety outcomes across populations, increasing statistical power and revealing consistent pattern. So, this form of evidence synthesis is increasingly persuasive to regulatory accessors. Then conducting a systematic review of observational studies. So a credible review follows the several steps: protocol development, comprehensive search, study selection and data extraction, then quality assessment and synthesis and interpretation. So develop and register a protocol before starting, search multiple database and regional journals. Used to independent reviewers for screening and extraction. Access quality using tools like the Newcastle or Ottawa scale, and synthesize data uh, quantitatively or narratively. So, transparency and methodological rigor make the difference between an academic exercise and regulatory grade evidence. Then regulatory value of systematic review. So SAHPRA's experience shows that submissions, including systematic review, enjoy a 3.2 times higher acceptance rate, around 45 percent shorter review times, and 78% greater reviewer confidence. So, in other words, investing in good synthesis repays itself in faster, more successful approval. Then, practical challenges and solutions. So, common pitfalls in observational study design. So, research in many African settings faces infrastructure constraints, limited labs, uneven record system, and scarce resources. So, yet these obstacles can be overcome through partnership with the universities, use of mobile data capture tools, and regional research networks. So, innovation and collaboration often matter more than a large budget. In addressing limited resources in African settings. So, infrastructure challenges. Many African settings face constraint in research infrastructure, including limited laboratory facilities. So, just we have discussed this. So, again, the obstacles can be overcome through partnership with universities, or we can use mobile data capture tools and regional research networks. Then engaging traditional healers and communities. So community engagement is not optional. Um, it's a fundamental. Involve traditional healers from the outset, consult elders and community leaders, and establish benefit sharing agreements. So, this approach builds trust, enhance data quality, and respect intellectual property rights rooted in indigenous knowledge. Then, language and cultural consideration. So, language and culture shape how health concepts are understood. So, data collection tools should be translated and back translated to ensure accuracy, and field staff must be trained in cultural competency. So, when recording traditional diagnostic terms, link them to biomedical concept without erasing their original meaning. Then integration with other evidence types, building a comprehensive evidence package. So robust submission combines multiple evidence streams, historical records, bibliographic reviews, lab toxicology, quality specs, and observational data. So integration creates cohort story of both tradition and modern validation, exactly what regulators want to see. Then complementing bibliographic evidence. So bibliographic literature establishes long-term use. Observational research shows that use continues safely today. So first is historical documentation. Bibliographic evidence establish long-term traditional use, then contemporary validation. Observational studies confirm continued use and modern safety profile, and integrated assessment. Combined evidence package demonstrates both tradition and contemporary relevance. So this dual evidence approach demonstrates both heritage and current relevance. The core philosophy behind traditional use registration. Then when to commission new observational studies. So because these studies require time and resource, often 50,000 euro and euro to 1,50,000 euro, and 18 to 36 month plan strategically. Commission new research only when there are regulatory gaps, specific safety signals, or insufficient local data. A single well designed study targeting clear regulatory questions is far more valuable than several small, unfocused ones. Then, future directions and regulatory evolutions. So, evolving regulatory science. Regulatory science continues to evolve. Authorities are embracing real world evidence, developing guidelines specific to traditional medicines. and harmonizing through the African Medicine Agency. The trend is clear: greater acceptance of observational data within a structured regulatory frameworks. Then technological innovations enhancing observational research. So technology is accelerating our capabilities. Electronic health records enables mass data analysis. Mobile health technology, mobile apps allow real-time reporting, and machine learning helps detect subtle safety signals. So these tools make a data collection more efficient and expand the reach of observational research across the continent. Then capacity building for regulatory African regulatory science. So to make this entire framework sustainable, we need capacity building. Africa is rapidly developing its regulatory science infrastructure, yet consistent training remains vital. So we are seeing programs that train regulators, reviewers, and researchers in observational study design and evaluation. The upcoming African Medicine Agency will serve as a coordination hub for these training efforts, ensuring common evaluation standards and knowledge sharing across member states. Then research networks and collaboration. So beyond individual capacity, we need collective strength. Multi-center African traditional medicine research networks are now forming, linking universities, industry, and community healers. So these networks make a large-scale observational study possible and allow post marketing safety monitoring across borders. So they also foster a mentorship and regional leadership in traditional medicine research. Then recommendations and best practice, strategic recommendations for applicants. So for applicants preparing submissions, a few strategic takeaways. First is early regulatory consultation. Meet with the SAHPRA or your local authority early to clarify expectations and align on study design. Then comprehensive planning, build an integrated evidence plan, traditional documentation, safety data, and quality metrics working together. Then quality over quantity. One well conducted cohort study overweight a dozen week reports. Then transparent reporting, follow STROB, disclose limitations honestly, and maintain traceable record. So these habits not only improve acceptance rates but demonstrate professionalism and respect for the process. Then key takeaways for regulatory professionals. So let's pause and recap the essence of what we have discussed. Observational studies have value. Observational studies do add regulatory value, especially for safety and uses documentation. Then clear standards exist. SEPRA guidelines and STROP compliance are non-negotiable. Then context matters. Data must be interpreted within traditional use frameworks. The future is harmonization. The AMA will bring alignment and mutual recognition across Africa. So these four ideas form the backbone of Africa's evolving evidence ecosystem. Then resources and further reading. So for further study, here are key references. SAHPRA guidelines for registration of complementary medicines. Then WHO GMP guidelines for herbal medicines. Then African Union model law on medical product regulation. And EMA community herbal monographs for comparative review or reference. Then methodological resources, Straub statement strengthening the report of observational studies, then Cochrane handbook and new Castle Ottawa scale for methodology. So keeping this keeping this close will help you align your submissions with the international best practices. In conclusion, so to conclude, the acceptance of observational studies marks pragmatic evolution in African regulatory science. So it bridges the wisdom of indigenous healing with the rigor of modern evaluation. Success depends on understanding each evidence type's role, historical use for credibility, observational data for safety, and quality documents for consistency. So together they ensure that traditional product reach the public safely and honor the heritage they represent. So thank you for your time. I would like to open the floor for questions. Over to you, Neha.
Thank you, ma'am. There are some questions. First question is, what level of details does SAFRA require in justifying the selection of cases and controls to selection bias?
So, at least 30 years of documented use within 15 within Africa. So, um, not entirely, it supports traditional claims and safety profiles, but cannot establish new efficacy claims for serious conditions.
Another question is, what is the recommended strategy for designing observational study that satisfies the evidence requirement for of SAFRA and CAPA agencies?
Okay, so for observational data, replace randomized trials. Actually, it ensures transparency, completeness, and consistency. Key qualities regulators look for an for in observational studies. So, by forming collaboration, academic industry, community partnership, we can, I think it supports traditional claims and safety profiles, but cannot establish new efficacy claims.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.